Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me play Warframe. Today is going to be my Nekros build. This is my Nekros Prime. I think he looks really cool. He has an eyeball in his back. I really like the design of one Nekros Prime, and also the Syandana on Nekros just looks absolutely fantastic. For those wondering, it comes with the deluxe skin of Nidus, is what this Syandana is. I can't remember what it's called specifically. I guess I can look. The Nekros Syandana, or Syandana. It comes directly from I think the only way you can get it at all is to actually buy it through the deluxe pack or the deluxe skin with, Nidus, I think is the only place it actually comes. However, let's go over Nekros' abilities. First thing first, we have his passive, which is he restores 5 health with every enemy death within 10 meters. So he just heals when enemies die close to him. So if using a melee weapon, it will give you passive healing. Granted, 5 health isn't a huge amount of health per enemy, but it's something. It's not a horrible passive. His first ability is Soul Punch. A blow so powerful it turns the enemy's very soul into a deadly projectile, damaging all in its path. As you can see there, on this build, it does like 1100 damage. I actually have 2 builds for Nekros, so I'm going to show off both. Honestly, I mean, you can use this in this build. 1100 damage isn't nothing. The problem is it's impact damage, and chances are, most things you're going to be attacking, unless it's baby enemies that no one cares about, you're going to be doing, like, you need to do, like, I don't know, 100 times that damage to actually kill stuff in high level stuff, so it's kind of a meh ability in my opinion. It needs to scale more. Having said that, it is just a 1. It'll also ragdoll the enemies, even if it doesn't kill them, so that's something. I guess it's a kind of small amount of control. His second ability is Terrify. Cast fear into the hearts of nearby enemies, causing them to run away in terror. It does pretty much what it says on the tin. It has a radius of like 15 meters, so you just sort of scream and then everybody runs away for, on this build, 25 seconds. It affects up to 44 enemies, and it also gives them armor reduction by nearly half, 44%. So it's useful for stripping armor as well, but honestly it's more in the situation where like, shit, there's a lot of enemies attacking me, I might die. Hit Terrify and then they'll all run away and they'll stop you shooting you. That's the main thing. If they're not shooting you, that's usually what you want. Desecrate. This is bread and butter for Nekros. Nekros is like the real easy farming frame because he can get a lot of extra drops. It forces the fallen enemies around you to drop additional loot. A radius of 25 meters. On this build, I have another build that's specifically designed for huge desecrate range. But you get 54% chance of getting extra loot, so every time a body disintegrates, essentially is what happens to them, they have a 54% chance to give another loot drop. It doesn't say it here, but there's also, when he uses Desecrate, there's a higher chance of dropping health orbs as well. Which, I don't know why it doesn't say it here, but it's a true fact. Health and energy orbs, it will drop more often from your Desecrate. And finally, as Shadows of the Dead. You summon shadow versions of vanquished enemies to fight alongside you for a short period. They have to be enemies you kill, I believe. So if you have all your allies kill all the enemies, you won't be able to use Shadows of the Dead. However, it's not hard to get a few enemies killed. It affects 7 enemies, and you can see all the multipliers here. It gives them a 4.3 times damage multiplier, 3.2 health multiplier, 3.2 shield multiplier, and the health decay per second on them is 2.93%. They will slowly drain of health. If you hit 4 again, it will refill their health. It will heal them. However, for the most part, you just hit 4 and they will slowly die if they don't get killed by enemies. But that's about it. His abilities are fairly straightforward. For the most part, Desecrate, Shadows of the Dead is what I use, and occasionally throw in Terrify. I pretty much never use Soul Punch. I'll go over both my builds now. I'll go over the Desecrate build first, simply because it's not as best I'll do the other one in the actual test, because it's better to show in the test. Arcanes, Arcane Aegis, Arcane Nullifier, as per usual. But we have Corrosive Projection. We have Power Drift. The reason I get the ability strength here just to bring my strength back up to 100 because it does tank it fairly significantly with Overextended, which is plus 90% ability range at the cost of 60% ability strength. Intensify, once again with Power Drift just to get that strength back up to 100. Augur Secrets, same thing, a bit more strength just to bring the strength back up. We have Equilibrium. Health pickups gives you 110% energy. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. Health pickups gives you 110% energy, and energy pickups give you 110% health. So those pickups are the orbs, so the red orbs and the blue orbs that you pick up. They will give you the opposite at 110%. So when you pick up an energy orb, you'll heal 110%. When you pick up a health orb, you'll get 110% of the whole orb as energy. Augur Reach, plus 30% range. With Overextended, that gives you a bunch of range. Vitality, ups him to like 740 health. And then I have Despoil. This is an augment for his Desecrate. It no longer consumes energy, and instead consumes 10 health per corpse. As we can see here, energy per enemy that you desecrate is 10 energy, but it's changed to health now, so that's 10 health. And because you're desecrating enemies, there's going to be a bunch of health orbs, so you're going to get a lot of health. There's a lot of health and energy orbs. With Equilibrium, you're getting a lot of health and energy back, so you don't need to worry too much about Despoil taking your health, because 10 health off 740, not that much. And finally, Shield of Shadows. Again, there's an augment for his 4th ability. Each shadow within 50 meters of you takes 6% of the damage done instead of Nekros, so it's essentially just straight damage reduction. When they shoot you, the shadows around you will take damage instead. So that affects up to 7, so 6 sevens, 42% damage reduction. And that's about it. This is built with very, very high range, and everything else around about 100. So essentially, this is for Desecrate to be 55 meters, which is an enormous range for Desecrate. And this is if you're just there to be the looter. So everyone else is killing things and doing all the work, you're just standing there looting, so you have this massive range for everybody to get extra drops. And you don't really need that much survivability, simply because you're going to be kept alive by your teammates, hopefully. And also you can use Shadows of the Dead in this build, that's why I've got the strength up to 100, just so it's viable if you want to. You don't need your energy for your Desecrate, so you can use it for Shadows of the Dead. But for a solo build, I have this, and this is the build I will be showing in the test, also the build I use more often. And this is very heavy into strength, and everything else at 100. The downside to this is that Desecrate only has a 25 meter radius. However, it means that Shadows of the Dead are more powerful, and Terrify is slightly more powerful, gets rid of more armor. Excuse me. Terrify gets rid of more armor. Shadows of the Dead is much better, so the shadows are actually going to last longer and be able to do more because they have a much higher health multiplier and damage multiplier. Granted, they still don't do a hell of a lot of damage. You're doing most of the damage, but it will keep you alive a lot better because they can survive longer, because as with the previous build, we have Shield of Shadows on here. We also have Despoil because you pretty much always want Desecrate on with Nekros, because why not? You're playing Nekros, you want to be able to have more loot. So I have both of these augments on both of my builds. But if we go back to the top, Corrosive Projection, just like previously. Power Drift, just like previously. This build has health conversion. This is a huge, huge help, particularly for Nekros, because there's going to be so many energy orbs around. Each energy orb that each health orb that you pick up grants 450 armor, stacking up to 3 times. And if you take damage, 1 stack will be consumed after 3 seconds. However, you're picking up so many energy orbs as Nekros that you're pretty much always going to be at 3 stacks, which is a lot. Like, an extra 1350 armor? That stops you taking a lot of damage. We then have Transient Fortitude for a bunch of ability strength, and it cuts down the duration a fair bit. Continuity gets that duration back. Equilibrium, like previously, you just want to be able to keep your health and your energy up pretty high. Umbral Vitality gives us 500% health. Well, it gives us 400% health, but 500% health with Umbral Intensify, which gives us 50% ability strength, bringing that strength up to 220. And then, as I said, the 2 augments here. And again, Arcane's the same, Arcane Aegis, Arcane Nullifier. But that's pretty much it. I'm going to be using the quote-unquote survivability for this test. Alright, so now I'll do level 145 test. So spawn all these enemies. My shadow's still down there from previously, which is kind of weird. Just from off-screen doing the test. I did the level 50 test off-screen, but honestly, level 50 test, nowhere near as necessary. So I want to hit Desecrate, then I want to kill a few enemies. There we go, got a health orb off them, which gives me a bunch of armor. Then we hit 4. I probably have enough enemies now. There we go, 6 enemies, that'll do. Those 6 enemies gives me a fair amount of survivability, simply because they give me a lot of armor. As you can see there at the top right, I have 79% damage reduction as it stands right now. That guy just fell off the edge. Is there a healer somewhere around here that I can... Yeah, there is. I was going to say, that guy should be dead with the amount of vector shots I just put into him. You can see here, if you cast 4 again, could die before I do. Nope, we're good. As you can see, I pick up that energy orb, but it actually gives me some health as well, which is nice. But if I run and find some more corpses, we'll get some more health pickups, which will give me... Oh, goddamn, that ain't good. You don't want to fall off the edge. Oh, shit. Oh, I nearly died there. You have to be careful at very high level missions of when you cast your abilities, because his abilities do take a fairly long time to cast. That's his biggest problem by far. Case in point. I should have walked behind that pillar rather than in front of it. On the plus side, the shadows stay here. They don't count as my current shadows, but the enemies will shoot them, so that's something, I suppose. That'll give me a couple of shadows. Probably just enough that I'll be able to finish this off. Pick up that health orb. Useful because it gives me a bunch of armor because of health conversion. Another health orb. More armor. I think they're all dead at this point. Yeah, seems like it. So essentially, you have his 4-up. At high level stuff anyway, you have his 4-up. Just so you can have this damage reduction. At the moment it's sitting at 66 with 5 enemies. So we got 66% damage reduction. We then couple that with the fact that we have my 3 on, so we're getting health orbs, and those health orbs are giving me a shit ton of armor, so I take even less damage with health conversion. And then if we need people to run away, we hit Terrify, which is his quickest ability to cast, thankfully. And finally, if we want to ragdoll a particular enemy, you can hit 1 to soul punch them. And that's pretty much how he goes. The other build I won't bother showing, because the other build is literally hit Desecrate and then go closest to the center of the room as you can, so you can get as many enemies inside that Desecrate. It's a much more boring build. These guys... I will show off here. You can see... Not really. It's gonna... In fact, mine are already gone. These guys seem now immortal? I think that's funkiness with the Simulacrum. I think because these are the guys I spawned and then I died. And they just seem to be immortal now. It's very strange. But they can stay there, who cares? But the other build here, the Desecrate build, this one here, all you do is you hit Desecrate and then you go and hide. That's all you need to do. But this one here is designed for more higher level stuff or just soloing. Because if you're just soloing, you don't need a really big range on Desecrate because you're the only one picking stuff up. And this is the build I use most of the time, because most of the time I use Nekros, I'm actually using him solo. It's just I want to farm something and I can't be bothered going in a group. This build here is if someone wants to have a Nekros in the team, and I'm happy to do it. But that's about it. So thanks for watching, I shall see you next time. If you have any suggestions for the build, let me know. It is worth noting as well, I'll point this out. Health Conversion, you may not have seen this mod. This specifically comes from Cephalon Samaras. It costs like 100,000 Samaras standing. He can be found in the relays. If you go and talk to him, you can do missions for him to get standing, and you can just scan stuff to get standing. But if you go to the sort of back right of his room, there is a little thing there where you can buy a bunch of things from him. Health Conversion in there for 100,000 standing. It's pretty expensive, and this is a 15 cost mod. You'll notice here this build is pretty ridiculously over the top. It takes 5 Former to do it. I wouldn't suggest doing this for the average player, honestly. Just do a Desecrate build, and for most cases you're going to be fine. And this takes like See here, I've got an extra 12 points. I probably could have gotten rid of like 3 Former off this. I think you could probably get away with 2 Former to get this build out. Yeah, but that's my Nekros build. If you've got any suggestions to make it better, let me know. As always in the comments. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to subscribe, hit subscribe. And, as always, thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye!